Now, your latest news update from Western Mass News.
Good Thursday afternoon. I'm Chris Pisano with a look at your headlines. The Greenfield City Police Chief announcing they plan to end night shift patrols beginning February 1st. That would be from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Greenfield's mayor supports the decision, while city councilors believe the move stems from last year's budget cuts. In Chicopee, the Paulo Freire Social Justice Charter School will permanently close at the end of the current school year. The Board of Trustees announcing that decision this week. Officials say the closing comes in part due to the school's financial condition and low enrollment, which can no longer support the school's mission. And actor Alec Baldwin is being charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter in connection to the fatal Rust shooting. In New Mexico, those counts carry a sentence of up to 18 months in prison and a $5,000 fine. Baldwin was holding a prop gun that discharged a live round on the set in 2021, killing cinematographer Helena Hutchins. The film's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, faces the same charges as Alec Baldwin.
I'm meteorologist Jana Brown. The check of your forecast. It is a first alert weather day, which will carry into Friday, along with our winter weather advisories up for all of Western Mass through about 6 p.m. Friday evening. Now, at the moment, we are dealing with heavy amounts of all kinds of precipitation, from ice, sleet, and freezing rain to snow across areas around Route 2 and farther north, to even very heavy rain across the lower valley. Now, the heavy precipitation of rain in that wintry mix will gradually be tapering off not long after midnight, and we'll have some patchy freezing drizzle overnight and occasional snow showers. Temperatures dropping into the low to mid 30s, so pretty much staying steady where they are right now. And on the backside of the system, we'll get wind shifting out of the north, which will allow all levels of the atmosphere to cool, enough to bring us periods of snow throughout the day on Friday. Those surface temperatures likely stay near and above freezing for many, so a lot of wet or slushy road conditions expected. It'll be dry for Saturday, but then our next storm is on the way for Sunday, which could be slightly more powerful nor'easter. So first alert weather day Friday, we're still dealing with some snow, possibly mixing with rain from time to time, tapering off in the evening. Saturday, we're partly cloudy with highs in the mid 30s. We're cloudy on Sunday. Rain and snow hold off until the end of the day, and then it gets windy going into early next week.
Stay with Western Mass News on air, online, and on our app throughout the day for breaking news, weather, and exclusive content.